Welcome to 60 Minutes with a Woman, the podcast where we sit down with remarkable women. In each episode, we dive into their journey, the challenges, the triumph, and the lessons that shape them. Get ready for raw conversations, inspiring stories, and actionable insights to fuel your own success. Tune in because every woman's story deserves to be heard.
Okay. Hi, Migena. Welcome. What a pleasure having you here. So thank you for coming.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm very excited too. And there is one main reason is I have been wanting to interview you for the longest time. You are an active woman. So Migena, I'm going to have to read, about you on this one because there is so much you do and I want to make sure that I'm not skipping anything. So
I'm learning with you. So please, what is it that I do?
You work as a connector and as a global liaison for family offices. You also founded Eagle MA LLC, which offers consulting for businesses. You have a podcast called Ask Migena. You are the co-author of Real Woman in Real Estate, which highlights the journey of 66 women in real estate. You are the co-author of Powerful Female Immigrant. You host events in New York City called WIRE, which stands for Women in Real Estate.
Diversified.
And you speak 5 languages.
To 4.5, but I brag about my French, even though it's the one I speak the least. But hey,
I spoke with you French.
Who's testing?
I'm betting you.
You can tell everybody how good I am.
You are excellent. Listen.
Merci.
Voilà, tu vois? I am in awe in front of everything you're doing. And I want to ask you questions about how you started. When did you arrive here with your family in the US? And how did you guys start a life here in New York City?
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for the reminder. We do so much on a daily basis and we feel like we do so little. So when someone else reads the journey, you wonder, wait, now that can't possibly be me because, I was born and raised in Albania and I was 19 when I moved in this country. So proud to say that I was born and raised in a different country. So I was already formed in so many levels and not very much shaped by the American way of living. So there's pros and cons with being born here or not being born here. So
I agree.
Of course, being an optimistic about everything in life, I also took that age. And when I showed up in this country as a teenager, almost an adult, as an ally of mine, right? Versus feeling that I was too old to begin, too old to understand the culture, build relationships.
Are those presumptions from people, or is it presumptions you had about you arriving here?
For me, it was, I'm in America. It had nothing to do with age. My parents wanted to bring me here and my brother here because Albania at the time was a very dangerous place to live. Yeah. And literally almost into like a civil war. And on top of that, women were being sold into human trafficking. So I was at an age where we had to leave the country or I would end up somewhere else. And as a result, I'm in this country with no legal status and spoke no English, except a few words here and there. And we had about $80,000 in debt to get into this country. So I started my journey here as a hostess in a diner in White Plains, New York, took the bus every day. My hourly salary was $7 an hour. I wore my mom's shoes and we had Albanian friends here who would clean homes of very wealthy people and they would change wardrobes. So to my luck, the clothes fitted me. So I would wear like these rich people's shirts. And I remember even the brand was the Limited. I wore like a white shirt that was the Limited. Little did I know that it was a pretty expensive shirt. So I could afford to buy a pair of pants, of course. And here I am taking the bus every day. And I remember starting in August 27th. Imagine, it's been over 2 decades, and I still remember the first day at work. I wonder why they hired me.
I'm not surprised.
Why would they hire me? I mean, I don't speak English. I don't know what I'm doing. And literally, all I had to do was be at the front desk, smile, and say, "Follow me." I'm like, that's easy. So that's how I started in this country, working with 3 days a week to 7 days a week, 2 shifts. So I ended up working over 80 hours a week. And every day that I couldn't work at the diner, I worked at their other restaurant as a hostess to not leave a day go by. And then I began to take classes for English as a second language at Lehman College in the Bronx. So literally, if I am not working at the diner every day, 2 shifts, like I would leave my house at 5 a.m. Dad would wait for me over the years when he showed up here years later, because I did this for like over 3 years, right? I would take the bus every day, and, he would wait for me at the bus eventually. Before he was here, my mom would wait for me at the bus. My brother is still in Europe. So it's been interesting. And then I would work at this bakery in the Bronx on the days that I would go to college to learn ESL. So literally Monday through Sunday for the first 3 years of living in this country, I had no days off, not a single day off. And I remember my first salary being $189 stapled in an envelope. And I wonder, why can people round up numbers? Like, why can't it be 190? Because as an Albanian, my mentality is, if it's 189, make it 190 or 200.
Okay.
So that's observation number one, lesson number one, is to cultural differences. Not even that, you go to work and these are the hours you put and these are the minutes you put. And as a result of that agreement, this is how much you earn. And it's not necessarily what you actually are worth or what your value is, but because of the value of the time, it showed me a lot of respect for the owners who were running the business, that this is the hourly and this is how many minutes you worked. And as a result, this is the amount, not more, not less. So it was a phenomenal lesson for me when it comes to money and how people respect money in this country. And therefore I respected it a lot more. And of course, I brought it back home to mom. She's crying because she can't get a job. And eventually I learned how to be a waitress and I made a lot more money. Then we got our political asylum. Then dad was able to get in the country. So little by little, the family was uniting, but still my brother is back in Europe, and it took us 14 years to unite with him. So for the first 14 years in this country, it's been mom and then dad. And I started college at 24 because I couldn't even pass the English test. We have different ways of writing. And literally, the journey, as I said, started with me being a hostess in a diner, learned English there, and made enough money to support my family for as much as I could, for as little as I could. And that's day in and day out, every day, no days off. And then here I am now in Manhattan, starting college at 24. As I said, I graduated in 3 years with an economics degree, minored in history, minored in Italian. And at that point, I went and I started to work in Manhattan also as a waitress, because before I was the Bronx, White Plains, Manhattan, every day from home to work to school.
That's a long commute.
So
you're
talk about
traveling through the city,
the Bronx, White Plains. So that's what I did every day. And then eventually I was in Manhattan, and then now I had like one full-time job and college, Monday through Sunday, winter classes, summer classes. I've always felt that I'm constantly catching up to not being here young enough to start college, young enough to start my career. And it's always been that mental war of survival.
That's what it sounds like. Survival.
Yes.
That's really what it is.
So that's the beginning. But that's phase one of me being in this country as an immigrant.
and this is actually the story of a lot of immigrants that come here. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifices, and a family mindset where we help each other, right? We uplift each other because this is all you have. You came together. That's all you know. And now you have to build a brand new life and start from scratch. And it's amazing that you're able to figure things out. Shout out to you for that, because you have a lion's heart. And I say that because I know you as well.
Thank you.
But this is really what it takes to survive and climb as high as you did. So for that, I'm very humbled, honestly, to be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
I appreciate to have the opportunity to share a little bit with the world, because I live.
It's a reality.
We all live in this world where on a daily basis we are questioning our decisions, and there's a lot of fear, right? Fear of not succeeding. And sometimes fear of not even surviving, not making it. Many come to this country and they don't make it and they go back home. So it's important to share stories, right? To share our journeys, because I heard journeys of immigrants from others, and it pushed me to not give up, right? I would see my mother and then I would turn inward and say to myself, what is wrong with you? How dare you be afraid? How dare you not believe that you're going to make it when your ancestors sacrificed, your parents are sacrificing, and this is how you honor their sacrifices, by throwing your hands in the air? No, I cannot go to college, or no, I am only going to work one job and merely survive. That's like unacceptable. And it's because of the journey of others that are models for us, that I feel, unless we pass it on, whatever journey we're on, because no two journeys are alike. There's many people who have gone through so much. And I believe that every journey is worth to be shared, especially nowadays with technology being so advanced. There is no excuse for people not to share, and for people not to start listening a little bit more from the immigrants, so they could feel that, you know what, I think I'm going to make it too.
It's about, like you said, survival. There is about honoring also all the sacrifices that have been made, like you mentioned. And I think that's the drive. That's the drive for immigrants, especially in New York City, because the competition is in its highest
another
possible,
level.
Potential. Competition is everywhere. So it's not only surviving, it's also not only learning a language, it's also knowing that you're not the only immigrant here. So it's about hustling. It's about hustling every day. I agree. And how did your upbringing as an Albanian immigrant influence your aspirations for life?
Ooh.
Because it sounds like you kind of had dreams, right? You didn't just survive. It feels that you had a lot of dreams and you really wanted to get to them.
Yes. I was born and raised in one of the tiniest towns in Albania, southwest Albania.
You're such a city girl now.
I know, right? I tell people, don't let this fool you, because I worked the land. We had a vineyard and I had a big garden. I made my own bread, and we had no electricity many times, including during New Year's. So my parents were both entrepreneurs back home. Mom had a restaurant and dad is a carpenter by trade.
Okay.
So when communism left Albania and we are in this democracy, my parents were given the opportunity the first right of refusal to buy the buildings where they were working for the government at the time, and now privatize it. That's how I think I can say it. So mom ended up borrowing money from her brother, and now she has this location and converts it from whatever it is that they were selling, like plates and glasses and dolls and whatever, into this little tiny cafe to make coffee, Turkish coffees, Albanian coffees, Greek coffee, whatever you want to call it. I'm not discriminating against the Turkish. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
I thought there were three different things.
It's the exact same thing. I promise you, even for the Arab world, like no matter wherever you go in the world, it's how you recognize it as, but it's the exact same thing.
I get it.
Same preparation. It's like saying Colombian coffee versus something else coffee, but it's filtered coffee. It's American, but not necessarily from here. So there is this little restaurant, and my dad now is working for himself at the shop. So I am growing up with cousins, like a lot of boy cousins. I'm the first girl out of all the boys in this town, but not necessarily the oldest of the daughters from all over our cousins, like my uncles. My dad is one of 10. So there's 7 brothers and 3 sisters. My grandparents from my dad's side live in the same town. So in every building, there's uncles and aunts. And then there is an uncle on the second floor of our building. So I'm on the first floor, they're on the second floor. The next building is my grandparents and one uncle, another uncle. Then at the end of the town is another uncle, and my aunt is here. So you can imagine, I'm from first grade all the way through high school in the same building. I have cousins in every class, and I'm also in one of the classrooms with a boy cousin of mine. So you can imagine, I'm surrounded by so many men, not just family, but men,
masculine,
playing soccer, into boxing, into weightlifting. Like my uncle actually is like a world champion of heavy lifting. Like talk about like crazy alpha males, but then so many strong women in our family, my mother, my aunts. So you can imagine I live in this beautiful, I call it mini Manhattan, because that town, Sarah, where I was born and raised, it was a piece of land at some point, and youth from all over Albania was encouraged to now go into this land and build a city. So people from north, south, west, east, central Albania would move into the city.
There were incentives?
The incentives were, it was communism. So it's volunteered work.
Okay.
The government sends you to work voluntarily to build cities. And
interesting.
Yes, and this is the youth. And after these buildings are being built, guess what? You move in. You actually get an apartment there.
So you build your own?
So my parents did. So I was born and raised in
Actually a good idea. Maybe we should do that here.
Yes, in this town, right? Where
at least you know what you worked for.
But exactly. But the beautiful thing about that is I don't live in a city that is Southwest Albania, indigenous Southwest Albanians. No, this is people from North with a different dialect, different food, different upbringing, who lived in the mountains, then west and south and east and center. So I call it a mini Manhattan because it was one of the most diverse towns in Albania, because it's a piece of land with buildings, a school, a park, stores, and lots of land, and a mile away is the Adriatic Sea. So dreamy, right? So I grew up with all these different cultures. So you can imagine that having your own family there, it felt good, because my dad moves there with his brother and sister. Then my mom moves there. Then that's where they meet. And that's where a lot of the youth met and actually got married north with south. So truly very USA, right? So I feel like I've been prepared from an early age for New York. So that's probably one of the reasons why I made it here. Because I'm like, I got this. You were so familiar. I was already very...
That's probably also why you were able, like you mentioned, to just connect with different people without having no issues. The language.
No issues, because the universal language is not the one we speak. It's the one we act, the one we show. Mm-hmm. So it's how we speak with our hands, and we smile or we don't smile, like based on what you see here determines the communication. So people get it, right? Because you train people. So both parents had their own businesses. So if I'm not at the restaurant washing the cups and give mom a break or wash the floor with hands, I'm with dad cleaning the dusty wooden from the trees that he cuts and makes windows. And then when they're taking a nap, if they're ever taking a nap, I'm like watering the entire garden for hours to surprise them, because they work so hard. So when my dad would say, okay, now I'm going to go water the garden, I wouldn't say anything. Like he would literally go, and then 2 minutes later come back, and my mom would be like, what's wrong? And he would be like, Ganushi. And he would take my hands, put them inside his mouth and like bite me and be like, why? They're heavy buckets. And they would cry. And I'm like, I guess this is a good thing. Like they appreciate it. So I would do more of that. Or at 5 a.m. making little bread. And then, Mom, are you hungry? Like, it's 5 a.m. I'm like, I made food. what do you mean you made food? He's like, with what? There's no electricity. Like I would have like this little thing that you turn on to make the Turkish coffee, but you can actually fry dough or something.
Like
the thing for the camping, right? So that's my childhood.
Oh my goodness!
My brother,
a million years away from what people go through.
I know. Wash clothes by hand, iron clothes. My brother went to school in another city, so it's just my parents and myself. So he would show up every month, and I would wash clothes for days. I felt, and then iron and fold. So very different upbringing.
Completely different.
But very entrepreneurial because parents went to work 4 a.m. until midnight, which meant I had the responsibility of the entire household. My mom would say to her friends, I'm going home because my mother-in-law cooked. And they're like, your mother-in-law doesn't live with you. She lives next door. She's like, oh, no, Migena cooked. And I'm like, yeah, right. She's like, you don't believe me? Like, Migena cooks and she actually takes care of everybody. At 9 years old, making pie from scratch, opening phyllo, that's me. And they're like, there's no way. Like, no one would believe it because I'm such like a tomboy, but I'm super like feminine in the household and I'm the bank. They leave all the money to me. I save it. And every time they need it, I was the one who would give them the money. So literally I've been like the bank and managing finances since I'm like 6, 7 years old.
And now that you're talking about this, it really brings to my mind the fact that we're not teaching children at school enough, life skills, things that you would do out there that really are meaningful, how to read a contract, how to, once again, take care of a household, because this is where you spend most of your time. It's very important. You don't have to delegate. Oftentimes people tend to need help for most of what they do. And there is a lot that can be told just into regular life tasks. I think we should bring that back to schools.
For sure.
Give a lot of meaning too, to
go back to the origin.
Feeling, because we are meant to be moving and acting for our own survival. So I do appreciate the fact that you went through all of that.
I'm so happy. Crazy. No, it's fun. I promise.
You're so young.
Yeah, I know, but it's good.
So that brings me to my next question. Do you feel that any instrumental skills was needed for you to succeed in all the fields of work you're succeeding into right now? Do you feel that? For me, the answer is very obvious, but I still need to ask it.
I'm curious to know your answer, but I don't want to cheat here. So I'll give my answer first, and you can say, no, I had something else in mind. I feel that we all have our own journeys, and we develop skills as we go, depending on the environment in which we are brought up. It's very different for everybody. But I would say the number one skill needed for anyone to survive, to thrive, to succeed is definitely hard work ethics. You have to have work ethics.
So what does that mean? Because we don't want to, for me, I don't want people to think that we need to dedicate the best of ourselves to a CEO or a business when it's not yours. So what does that mean, hard work? I know where you're coming from. Hard work, but I want to define it more.
Hard work means you can't escape that. Yes, people say you have to work smart. I get it. But unless you go through the hard work phase first, you will never learn how to work smart. Unless you have...
That's a really good point.
Unless you have mentors, unless you have books and TV. Where I come from, we didn't have self-help books. We lived in a very different, we are a generation that had no social media growing up, not even a cell phone. So hard work means you are that person that works hard, but you also recognize it in others and you create this strong respect. And then you associate yourself with people who work hard. I am not saying work 200 hours a week in order for you to be considered a hard-working person. But when you are someone that doesn't expect from others, but is a contributor in the family, a contributor in the society, in the community, that you work hard, it's not necessarily grab the shovel and start working the earth. Oh, wow, this person is a hardworking person. But then here they are failing at 10 other aspects of life. So work ethic is very important, especially when you are an immigrant in a country, and especially in a city like Manhattan, New York City, that it's a planet of its own. If you don't have the work ethic, you will not make it. Life is expensive, it's fast, and even when you want to give up, there are no sick days. You work harder on your sick days because you're like, oh my goodness, what if I get sick more and I cannot afford the rent? So you go back to work. You show up with ethics, and you continue to work, and you don't stop. Ever.
There is this sacrifice, but at the same time, you're doing it for yourself.
For everybody.
Know that the hard work you're putting into what in the work you're doing, it's because you want to grow.
Of course.
You don't want to stagnate. You want to be able to afford what you want. And it needs sacrifice. And that's the truth. I agree with you. And I think a lot of immigrants have this concept because resilience is the foundation of any person who went through hardship.
Correct.
And I think it's maybe why America is they often say, is being built on immigrants. I think it's mainly because of that. And hard work, it's most definitely something that is important, but at the same time, we really have to understand it's not about building someone else's business or building someone else's success. It's really about you.
But you build it.
Having goals.
But the magical thing that happens there, Sarah, is that when you think you're just going to work so you can pay the bills for your own family, what you have created there is you have not become a burden for the system. You show up at work with your work ethics, meaning if you show up on time and don't look at the time, you are now changing the dynamic in the workplace because you become in these role models for others to show up on time because you train others by the way you show up in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And you also
preach by your actions. It's true.
And then you make that restaurant a better place for clients to continue to come back because you remember their family names, you remember what they order, and they continue to shop, which means you are now going to work every day to pay for your family. But you know what you're doing? You actually increased the revenue for the restaurant. So now the restaurant owners are making more money as a result of how you show up. So it's never about us. I refuse to believe that we do these things for us. We do things for others, and then it comes back to us because the power of giving and the receiving go hand in hand. And they're like which one comes first? I'm like, look, we all get up the same way we go to work. But if you think you're going just for yourself, you're not going to go far. You really aren't. Because how scary is it to think that you only go to work for yourself and God forbid one day you don't feel like doing it? How many people will be affected as a result? Businesses will shut down because just like I operate, let's say there's another 15 waiters that think the same way. Guess what? There's no one to serve the clientele, which means those clients are not coming back because there's not enough staff in the kitchen or to serve them water. So every decision we make when we go to work, yes, it's so we can feed our families and have better clothes and have better quality of life, but it's a direct effect on everyone else that's also giving us a hand up.
You got to give the best. You have to have integrity.
And that's why work ethic is huge.
Integrity, yes.
100%.
And a sense of community. I absolutely feel you on this.
So that's why
you cannot go just selfishly. But at the same time, working hard, I feel it's also working hard because you need to have dreams. You can't just be working hard. And like you said, if your dream is to help your family, there you go. You have a goal for the community.
100%.
Now,
And dreams are free, they say, but it takes a lot of money to make them reality.
It's true. And by the way, now talking about a lot of money, how did you get to family offices? How did you become a connector and how did you even get introduced to this world?
So literally from the restaurant world into the real estate space, being an HR recruiter, because I couldn't get a job in the financial world, and managing 20 million square foot of space in New York.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I was a project manager at Goldman Sachs. So imagine I had over 150 employees. The Federal Reserves were my clients. The BlackRocks were my clients. So I literally have had this journey now from the restaurant where I had 3 jobs to going to college, now to having 2 full-time jobs, wearing a suit every morning, hiring people, and wearing a uniform every night, smelling like fish. And then when I then became this project manager, I would manage people every night wearing a suit and every lunch wear a uniform because the money was not enough to support the New York City lifestyle. And I went from 3 jobs and I felt like I was demoted now to 2 jobs. But literally I was working Monday through Sunday because on the weekends I would work at the restaurant and during the week at the buildings. So I end up at Goldman. Now I am left with 1 job. I don't know what to do with myself. Next thing you know, I'm at Goldman Monday through Sunday managing. And then from there on at Hearst Corporation as a project manager during the day. And I felt like the first day of being in this country that I mark it as the day that I truly moved here was when we paid the debt that we had. I was like, wow, now we're in America. Now everything is us. It's no more the $80K that we have to pay. And I feel like the second is when I finally found a normal day job that I didn't have to take the subway with my employees at 3 a.m. every day after shoveling snow and giving them a break and staying in buildings for 2-3 days during winter time. So I'm there. Then from there on, I'm this area director and I have hundreds of employees, 100% client retention. I'm so proud of it. All in the real estate space, class A commercial real estate. So I worked for companies where I was the face of the company. And here I am now shifting from HR to project management to area director to director of business development, all for billion or $1 trillion companies. And my 20-year anniversary in this country was approaching and I find myself not feeling accomplished at all. I did this analysis that what are the things that I will celebrate on my 20-year anniversary? And literally, if I were to lose my job or something were to happen to the company, I would have to start work in another company in order for me to have a paycheck. Or I had no investments. I had nothing passive working for me. None of my dreams came true other than going to college. And I don't want to say that I was being harsh with myself. I was being extremely honest with myself. And mom always teaches me that the one thing you never want to do is lie to yourself. Like that's criminal. Because if you're the only one who knows and you're lying to yourself, who's going to hold you accountable? Yes. And it's a recipe for disaster. So
it's great that you were able to identify
of course,
that need.
Of course. Yes. And literally I decided to remind myself also that my parents were entrepreneurs. I grew up with entrepreneur parents, and here I am in this country.
It is true. You had a good, beautiful start.
But here I am. Working for a company, and nothing wrong with working for companies. But I think it was about time that I also was a little bit more courageous and limitless, and working with people versus a person or a company. So on the spot, I decided to give my notice.
Really?
Yes, 2 weeks notice, not knowing what January 1st, 2022 would bring. And literally, I went on this journey of finding the treasure, like that shepherd in the Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist book that I'm sure if you haven't read, you need to read.
I will have
to. It's one of the best books in the world after Bible and another book, I believe. So literally, I'm looking for this treasure. And the more I'm looking for the treasure, the more I'm finding out that I am the treasure, that there's no treasure.
Oh, The Alchemist. That
changed
the lead into gold.
Yes, The Alchemist.
I know. Yes,
so literally,
it's a well-known book.
So that's how I end up in the family office world, in the capital raising world, in the whole entrepreneurship, and became a member of a family office organization, connected with so many people in the best way that Migena knows, just being myself every day. And this is where I'm at. This is the first day for the rest of my life. And that's an attitude also that mom instills in me every day. Every day, it's a brand new day for you to start from scratch, day one, but of course from experience. So it's never really from zero. So that's how I found myself for family offices over 3 years ago, where I opened my own company as a result of traveling the country and the world and realizing how much more there is out there versus just working. And I felt very isolated because here I am in this vertical space, like the skyscrapers going up. I said, how about we go horizontal this time? Because I've been vertically climbing. I want to horizontally, expand, right? So here I am now, open my LLC, the first LLC. So I get to say that, wow, I actually am a CEO and a founder of a company. Little did I know that the moment you start a journey, as Rumi says, the moment you start walking the path appears. And exactly that happened. So when I would read these quotes afterwards, I'm like, wait, did they write this about me? Like, this is ridiculous. Because now I am going in my shelf of dreams, right? That had collected dust. And little by little, I'm like, I wanted to be an author, 6 books. You want to be a publisher? Open a publishing company. Check. You wanted to be a contestant in a Miss Albania or Miss New York because you always pretended to walk the pasarela, the stage. How about you do that? So last year I surprised my parents and my brother, and literally I signed up for Miss New York USA. And I told them that I'm going to work because I'm also on the TV space because I always wanted to be on TV. And here I am. My parents are sitting VIP. I bought their tickets. They think I'm working, that I get the tickets as part of, none of that because I love surprises. And then here they are sitting like second row behind the judges. And I'm number 3 because my last name is an Albania, Agaraj, whatever. And literally, Migena, and I had like my sash saying Botanical Garden because I live in the Bronx and I'm very proud. So they start crying. They're like, oh my God, she's a contestant.
Oh, they couldn't believe it.
No, they couldn't. Oh. And then literally, hey, got that done too, because my mom feels guilty for bringing me in this country where I'm constantly working and not making my dreams come true. So my way of expressing that is, no, actually, thank you, because I get to work, get my freedom back, independence back, confidence. There's no lack of that, clearly. But I am making my dreams come true as a result of you sacrificing your dreams. And here it is.
That is beautiful.
And it may not be a big deal because it's not really a big deal, but it's the principle of it and the story behind it. So, and many other dreams, of course, and it's only the beginning. So that's how I ended up at family offices in my own business, because I did a self-analysis. I was not happy with the results and I took action. And that's all it takes, truly. That's it.
But that's very, do you feel that it's a little unconventional for an Albanian immigrant? Do you feel that you went out of what most do?
No, Albanians are
a pioneer. I see you right now as a pioneer.
I've done nothing in comparison to what Albanians do. I mean, Mother Teresa is the first saint. Albanians are indigenous people of Europe. Our language is 8,000 years old. It's the oldest language in the world. I know people will debate me on this. No problem. Bring it on. We have fought wars for countries. We have created so much for the world. Like, we are warriors. And literally, that's the other thing that made me very uncomfortable and very embarrassed. As on top of being an immigrant in New York, being an Albanian immigrant in New York, zero excuses as to why I could not make my dreams come true, my mom's dreams come true, my dad's, my brothers, my communities, my cousins, because we do so much for ourselves and for everybody else because we're wired that way. So literally, this is so very little in comparison to what Albanians do for so many. And we bring so much beauty and strength to New York. We're everywhere. I'm sure you've seen more now that you know me. You're like, wait, they're everywhere now.
Oh my goodness. Yes. We went to the restaurant and then you started speaking to everybody in Albania. And I was like, what?
Oh, that's right. When we had dinner.
Yes. Benjamin.
Benjamin Prime. Thanks, Benjamin Prime.
Yes. And I couldn't believe it. You know, the owner, all the waiters there, everybody. And I said, wait a minute, this is unbelievable.
And it's not like I go to restaurants every week, but you go once and they identify you. Oh, you're Albanian, you're any country. They embrace you. They remember.
It's they are entrepreneurs at heart. But now that I hear your story, I absolutely understand. Something else that just also I want to ask you a question about is networking, because now that you're independent, you're self-employed and you have your own company, you need to go get your own business. How important is networking for you?
It's everything.
Okay.
Networking is everything. They say you are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And I am a big believer of that. And I also am a big believer that those 5 change over time, depending on where you are in your journey. And it's not like you said, you forget the first 5 or the second or the third 5, but it's important to have that open mind that as you continue to grow as a person, so does your network, and it adjusts a little bit. So unless you are out there constantly connecting, being of value, of service to others, there is no way you are going to succeed at the level that you have set yourself to succeed. You can go to work, have a salary, have a very beautiful life. I've seen it. But if you're someone like me who is constantly looking for bigger and better things and loves people, and you have to genuinely love people, be interested in people, then networking is where the key to success is truly. Placing yourself in very uncomfortable environments, right? Unknown environments, because if it's unknown, therefore, it's a little uncomfortable because you don't know what to expect. You can be the bravest person in the world, fear of public speaking, fear of shaking someone's hand that you don't even know who they are, or you know who they are and you're terrified. It's real, regardless of how successful you are. So that's where you actually test yourself as to who you are. And I love it because every time I'm at these networking spaces, Sarah, and you and I have been to so many together, we learn so much about ourselves. Like ultimately, it comes down to, how did I approach when Sarah introduced me to that person that's from our same city? Can I be a little bit better? Or do we keep this approach because I felt welcomed and warm? Like, it's a constant study of who we are. So networking, at a minimum, even if you don't meet anybody, you meet yourself. And there's nothing more powerful than that.
That's very profound.
So that's why, please go out there. Nothing beats in person.
So you will recommend for any business owner, woman,
anybody,
business owner, anybody in general, but girls, we're talking to you.
The women.
We want you to succeed as well.
Please.
You feel that
yes,
this is the way to go. When you have a business, do not just invest in creating the LLC, having a business plan, trying to find investors or trying to sell to survive. Go out there, right? Network.
I was in 2 phone calls today prior to us meeting Sarah with 2 women that I'm meeting on the phone for the first time, because I'm preparing to host my 5th event now, Women in Real Estate Diversified, where hundreds of women join together in New York City, and I create this beautiful space, and I have phenomenal sponsors that make this event possible. And literally, I want to be as exclusive as I possibly can. So what do? I'm posting in these WhatsApp groups that are global with thousands of entrepreneurs. I would love to give an opportunity to the women founders that if they have products or services they would like to include in our swag bag, I'll be more than happy to support you in any way I can. That's a form of networking. So literally, I throw it in the universe of what's up.
Guys, parenthesis, we are going to drop all the information in the description. If you want to call Migena after everything she's been saying, she's here to support you.
Yes.
Please
Correct.
Get in touch with her.
Correct. So literally with these 2 women, they are from 2 different parts of the world. One is in Europe and one is in the Americas. One literally said, I did that. Now I want to do this. I see you all over. I'm just reaching out of the blue. And this is what I want to do. And literally the Albanian me kicks in. I'm like, no. You're not going to do any of that. Oh, I'm not? I'm like, no, you're not. Like, you don't need a plan right now. There's no plan. Right now, you need to decide that you want to do it. Like, that's the first thing. Are we good so far? Yes, we are. All right, great. The second thing, it's not you're going to have a social media campaign. No, you don't need a social media campaign. So you build as you grow, as you go. People think that you need to have a big plan, hire people to tell you what it is. Nobody knows what it is that you need except you. No one in the world knows you better than you know yourself. So how about we start
to take action?
You take action.
Don't overthink.
And that's exactly the word. You nailed it. I said to this lady, you are overthinking. She's completed my sentence. She's like, you're right, I am. I said, great, no problem. So for any woman, either in business, wants to get in business, is on a 9 to 5, working for a company, and still wants to have a side business on the weekends, or as they call it, the 5 to 9, because the 9 to 5 doesn't support it. We can do it because I've done it and I know it's possible. You need to connect. You need to network. You don't need to have a plan. Do not have a lack of plan stop you from pushing forward. And I'd rather...
Or maybe get your feet wet.
You need
out
to.
there and
You need
network
to.
with people, and maybe the plan will appear to you.
It does.
And you'll get support also,
But who are you going to support, Sarah, when you are at a networking event? The person that's in front of you, or the person that it's on LinkedIn? You don't even know the person on LinkedIn.
That's true. You don't know who's going to...
You are honoring the person that's in front of you because, at a minimum, they took time to work hard to afford the airplane ticket, to afford the hotel, or maybe struggle and share with another lady that's at the event so they can cut the cost by half, and maybe come up with some excuses that they have meetings so they don't join dinner so they don't have to pay their portion of the dinner. Like, you see all these things. Do you think that you're not going to give an opportunity to that woman who's in front of you because at a minimum she's there?
I was going to say, because she showed up.
She's there.
Yeah.
So you will give her the first opportunity for her to decide for herself. And if she's not aligned with your ethics, mission, vision, guess what? Next. Not everybody we meet, it's aligned with our hearts just because they're there. So just because people are there, it doesn't mean that they are our people. There's different seasons. Another thing to keep in mind, do not compare yourself with someone else's success. You don't know where they come from. You don't know their journey. You are clueless. So you have an open mind and, most importantly, an open heart. So as a woman, I would say that if you are investing in getting your nails done, coloring your hair, and I say this in the most respectful way as a woman, I tell my lady friends when I engage them in the book collaborations that I created for many women, in the hundreds now, to be in these books. And there was a fee of entry into putting the money together to produce the book as a collective of our journeys. Mm-hmm. And I would say, look, for the next 6 months, get your own nails done. And that will save you $50 a month times 6, like $300-400. Here is your airfare to go to the next event that you think you cannot afford. Instead of giving it to the nail salon, put it in a bank, take it from here to here. Women are excellent savers. No, they're excellent savers. You need to put creativity into play in order for you to no more have excuses. Oh, Migena can afford it. You don't even know what it is that I have to go through to get to that event.
I agree.
So not everything is as glamorous as it seems.
There's a lot of sacrifice.
There's a lot of behind the scenes on the daily basis for us to get there.
Successful.
Even when you are successful.
People still sacrifice a lot.
A lot.
Show what we see on TV, it's a lot of money spent. It's a lot of glamorous and excessive lifestyle. It is not like that. If you and unfortunately life is like that. When you come from a lower level of socially lower level, you have to sacrifice more. Correct. And it's okay because it's life experience that you're getting. And I agree with that. So
yes, the long and the short.
You want to be, but you got to make the sacrifices necessary for that. Yeah,
and no excuses, and no comparison, and no. It's easy for her because Sarah. Well, I met Sarah at a networking event. She was there and I was there, and we met in Houston, and we both live in New York City. But we met because we both got on a plane.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
We live in the same city.
Yes.
We both got on a plane, maybe the same plane. Who knows? We don't know. We may find out. And we literally connected in a different state, in a different city. And it's because you somehow wanted to meet me and somehow I wanted to meet you. We just didn't know it at the time. And that's how it happens with, oh, Migena, you have a picture with Dana White. How did that happen? And you hang out with all of these big shots on Twitter, and now they invite you into these events that it's invite only. When you show up authentically as your true self, 100% of the time with no agenda, simply being yourself, the right people will be attracted to you. And keep something in mind. We are all being tested on a daily basis. Every day you think you're fooling someone, I promise you, you're not fooling someone. Everyone is testing you. So if you want to learn more about who you are, get yourself up, dress yourself, and show up. As I say, get up, dress up, show up. And
the old
shopping
school
class.
way, it's not everything online.
It's not.
Showing up still makes a big difference in your life.
It is. So it's fun. It's fun.
Let's bounce on the fact that your book has been bestseller 6 times.
Well, there's like 6 books that have been number 1 bestsellers on Amazon, and look,
what an achievement! Don't undermine it. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. Everything you had to say, on these pages has been read and voted as a helpful and meaningful book.
It is. Thank you. So I've always wanted to write a book, but of course, as an immigrant, not knowing that half the time we sound silly and our grammar, it's not always there. There's no way. So I get approached by this person who is a publisher to be a contributor in a book called Powerful Female Immigrants. And I'm like, LOL, I'm on a red eye from LA on a family office summit, coming back to New York on a red eye. And I'm like, LOL, you've got the wrong number. This is Migena. And the response from the publisher is, LOL, I know it's you, Migena, but literally, I would love for your story to be part of the book. I said, I am not an author. Do you really want me to ruin your first book project as a collective with other women? Like, seriously. So here I am telling you to go do things, but here I am also the person that is overprotective of everyone else because I identify something in me. But guess what? It was a wrong identification. We need people around us to actually be a little annoyingly persistent like I am with others, that no. You think you don't, but I promise you are. Let's give it a shot. So this person literally says, it's not about being an author. Like, your story matters. Oh, wait, you want me to tell a story? Oh my God, where do I sign up? I can tell stories all day. Don't ask me to be an author. It comes back to, how do you also manipulate a little bit yourself? Manipulation is a good word. It's not always a bad word, depending where you use it. Manipulate your thought process to say, yes, I'm not an author, but I can share my story. And literally that decision is made. I am in this book, Sarah, sharing my journey and honoring my mother in the book, where I'm literally moving into this country, how I landed at JFK and she waits for me and she doesn't even recognize me, even though only 3 months had passed since I last saw her, because she moved here in January and then I moved here in April of the same year. So I talk about the journey, how I went to the embassy and how I got the visa. So it's a very important part of the story that brings me, and I pause the story as I landed JFK and that's it. Like, the audience doesn't know anything what happens to me after that. That's where I leave chapter 1, thinking that's the only chapter. But there we are. Now the publisher says, this has become a number 1 bestseller. We're going to do volume 2. Hey, you authors. I'm like, LOL, what author? Like, I wrote it last minute. I read it to my mom. She starts crying. She's like, but of course you are a writer. I'm like, but of course I am. I'm like, not really, but whatever. I did it. Who cares? It's my story. No one can change it. So the publisher says, hey, we're doing volume 2. If you know any powerful female immigrant, bring them on board, nominate them. I literally went crazy, Sarah. I said on all of these posts, if you are an immigrant woman, I already know you are powerful. DM me. Because it's not like only if you know the powerful one. No, every single woman is powerful. But if you're an immigrant on top of being powerful, this is the one criteria you need to meet because of the nature of the book.
Yes.
So it's important for people to know. It's inclusive to the immigrants. Literally, there's 24 authors per book. I brought in all 23 authors and myself included. I took over volume 2 with my crowd. I converted a lot of these women into first-time authors. Some of them I never met in my life, and I met for the first time at the launch, but I was connected with them through social media, through friends, through my communities on WhatsApp. And then I get this award for going above and beyond, for bringing all the women. That led to volume 3. And of course, I'm participating and bring again the other 20 something women. And the publisher honored my mother as always being there supporting us and the women. And she pretty much adopted all these women. Now I have all these sisters. I'm like, I need to get like 5 jobs. I can't handle just the gifts. This is ridiculous. I can't take you anywhere, Mom. You adopt all the women. So the publisher says, she's everybody's mom. 1 chapter is going to be dedicated to her. So volume 3 now has 25 women. And my mom is speaking on behalf and in honor of all the moms who leave or not, for all the women that have been part of this journey. Here I am finding myself 3 books and all these women coming to me and saying,
phenomenal. I need to read it. I haven't, guys. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's fine. I'll take care of that. Now, these women are, Migena, how do we get in this book? I'm like, LOL, you're not an immigrant. You don't qualify. Like, I love playing that immigrant card when I don't pronounce well. Like, it's so much fun sometimes because I'm silly too. And then in particular, this woman says, I've always wanted to write a book. How many stories can you share? And I'm like, you know what? Do you want to do a book together? About what? Women in real estate? Like, we're in real estate.
She was in real estate as well.
Everybody's part of the same ecosystem. Okay. She happened to be in the 10X community with Grant Cardone that I'm a part of as a certified trainer, mentor. And Grant doesn't pay me to say this, but I don't forget where I come from, and everyone needs to be honored. So literally, I decided to create now this Women in Real Estate, bring all the women, and the lady said, where do we find the women? I'm like, we have the women. We just decide which one is the right fit for the book because it's not for everyone. And that started the Real Women in Real Estate last, February. We decided on the phone call that it was going to happen. And we took off, and literally Real Women in Real Estate Volume 1 launched August 2023. Then there was so much fun. We decided to do Volume 2 of Real Women in Real Estate that launched March 8th, 2024 on International Women's Day.
And that's very symbolic.
Yes. And then I said, you know what? Let's do a third one, because when you do, it's like, it's 1. When you do 2, you feel like it's not complete yet. So when you have 3, you end on a high note. So literally, we launched the 3rd and final on October 10.
This October
10. So literally in a year and a half, now we have 67 women and 2 women who wrote the forward. Cindy Stampo, thank you so much. She's like the #1 developer in the country. And Vina Jetty, $1 billion in assets. I mean, this woman said yes to gift us a forward for the books. Vina twice, the 1st and the 3rd volume. So think about all these powerful women from all walks of life, Americans and immigrants who have businesses, who are super successful, now join together and sharing their real estate journey so we can inspire the world. So I'm a proud co-creator, creator, brains of the operation, call it whatever you want, of now having all these books. And that's what led me to open the publishing company now. So I can continue to do the journey for the women who still feel like, oh my goodness, I'm like, I promise you, I'm a consumer. I've been there, done that. If I can do it as an immigrant who failed the English test many times, so can you. So that's the book story.
That is really wonderful. So we're going to end this amazing podcast on a note where
we have to come back for part 2.
Right. I mean, we're going to have to do it again. So what is your vision? So first of all, what does it take to be part of WIRE, to be part of these events? That's going to be my first question. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to let you just jump on the second question without stopping you and ask you, what is your vision? What do you envision for a woman in, first of all, male-dominated industry, but also just so they can unleash their power and seize their opportunity? What do you envision for a woman in general, really, professionally?
As far as Wired, I mean, these are Women in Real Estate Diversified. It's a space that's created for women in property management, asset management, facility, in the commercial or the residential space. It's a space for a lot of business owners.
So real estate minded.
It's very real estate, but not necessarily. Like, the focus is to honor the women in the real estate industry here in New York and the tri-state area, because I worked over a decade in this space and I know what it takes for a woman to be in any role in these skyscrapers during emergencies, during lockdowns, fires, hurricanes, storm Sandy, like you name it. And they don't know each other for the most part. Like I would go to this networking event because I was on the service provider side, and the women would work a building next to one another, and they wouldn't know that they're neighbors, that they could help one another, that they could uplift one another to get that next job, that next opportunity.
This is where the connector side of you developed.
Yeah, exactly. So I am like, you know what? I want to put you women together because you need to meet your future boss. You need to meet your future mentor. You need to meet women, and women for the most part after 5 o'clock, Sarah, as you know, especially in the big cities like ours, jump on a train because it's either a 2-hour commute, 3-hour commute, 45-minute commute. Then they go home. They tend to their parents, their spouses, their children. That's when I feel like the other full-time job starts while they're at work. So who really goes to networking events after 5 in New York City?
That's a good point.
Especially when you are a woman, men usually go. Because I would be in the spaces and I would see 90% of the room being only men clients, and nothing wrong with that. But it got me a little upset because I know these women, for the most part, would have offices in basements. They wouldn't see the sun. They would eat at their desk if they ate. And I worked hand in hand. I've been so fortunate to work hand in hand with my clients at Goldman, the JLL Group, with my clients at the Hearst Corporation, the Tishman people, and with my CBREs, with my Cushmans. And you see these women, they're superpowers. They make things happen, but they don't have a place for them to meet one another. And men are included. This is not women only. You've been to my event, which is great that I get to speak. These are men who support women, also decision makers. But this is for the women to have a beautiful space to be at, connect with one another, not being bombarded with business cards from service providers. This is not a sales feast. This is complimentary to all the women who serve these buildings and our city at any capacity. And the inclusion of anyone else, either a woman-owned business, man-owned business, minority, diversity, anything and everything. They also are welcome through sponsorship to keep the environment ethical, where you honor and you want to be a contributor so the women can continue to come back complimentary. We have a beautiful panel of speakers who share their journeys. So storytelling is very important, where it's not just connecting, but it's only women speaking how they came up the ladder, how it is to be in a male dominant world. And something I want to mention here, which is a huge takeaway, every single woman always has had male mentors. So men are so important. Just because it's a women event, they also have a lot of strong men who have supported them. And it makes me happy because I come from a family of strong men.
Some of your sponsors are men.
And most sponsors, actually, most of the sponsors are men actually supporting the women.
They do support women. I agree.
So that's the vision for women to network and continue to come back and make it easy for them to know one another and to understand that they're not alone. So this is very educational, inspirational, and it's also, I can relate. I get you. You're not alone. Like that's what I wanted with that. And as far as how I envision women in 2025 onwards as businesses, I feel there's more businesses being filed as ever before. And the majority of them are women who already have businesses and opening more because they have tested themselves. They see the need is there. And guess what? They're taking more action and they feel limitless and no longer limited. So women have so much power, have so much knowledge, so much love to give. And now we are equals with the men in the world, truly. And we see it, like I see it. I don't feel that they treat me as a woman when I'm in these spaces because I am deciding for myself that I am a person that doesn't identify with the gender, but identifies with what's in here, right?
That's in your head, yeah.
Like the mind, the heart, and the ethics and the integrity, and also realizing that women and men have roles. I grew up in an environment that men are men and women are women, and we have roles. And what a man can do, a woman sometimes cannot, and vice versa. So as long as we show up with a lot of respect, understanding that women need men and men need women, I think that's the first step to having a successful business journey, because either you like it or not, as a woman, you'll be faced with a lot of men who are still in decision-making position. And a lot of the men need to realize that they will also be faced with a lot of women in a decision-making business. So there's a lot more women founders, fund managers, family offices that run family offices, that manage buildings, that are a key into their operations, from the Silverstein, from the Goldmans. Like, some of the head people in the real estate are women, but also a lot of men. So being a woman is beautiful. And I feel like it's a very exciting time to be a woman, now more than ever. Truly. I'm excited. Yeah. For all of us and for me to help. Yeah. So reach out.
Once again, Migena, I'm going to leave all your information in the description. Hopefully, I'm hoping that, please, anybody in the audience who is interested, don't feel shy. Just reach out to her.
Correct.
You can hear her. She's amazing. And she will help you find your way. If you want to expand or if you want to explore other options, she's the right person to go to.
Thank you.
It's such
It's
pleasure.
been fun.
Can I have a hug? It's such
been
a pleasure.
fun. Thank you so much for having me and for the thought-provoking questions.
Awesome.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Until next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and keep building your own success story. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it.